Welcome to the Agency Navigators podcast. I'm Roe.
I'm Don.
And we have one of our favorite, most special guests with us, Chip from Deland Gibson. Hey, Chip.
Hey, glad to be here.
Great to see you.
We are always happy. And for the listening audience, we have had Chip on before, so he's our first repeat guest. We're super excited about that. And why that's so important is you have been with us. We are going on 8 years together. So we have a deep working relationship with Chip and the team at Deland Gibson. But also in the 8 years that we have worked and seen Chip, if you own an independent agency out there, you need to listen to this man. He has done it. He and his brother, Ted, they are in the day-to-day fight. Go check out their website, delandgibson.com. You'll see the team, the infrastructure they're developed. And we're going to talk about that and the challenges of the value drivers. Our theme this year is are the value drivers.
And I think, as much as Chip, you've had this tremendous success over 8 years. It's not without challenges. You don't get to a point. I think what we've talked about a little bit about, want to hear about today is the challenges of continued growth really do never stop.
Yeah, you've been with us through the good, the bad, and the ugly. From late night conversations when we're like, oh no, this just happened and we need to figure it out, to celebrating the success. And you guys sent us a bottle when we first became a best practice agency, and so we've got pictures around the office with that. So it's been a wild ride together.
Absolutely, it is such a cherished part. We look forward to our time with you on our monthly calls, and anytime I look down and I see Chip Gibson's calling, I drop everything because you're always one of my favorite conversations. We'll end up laughing about something, but also get to a really good place. It is truly cherished. So in 100%. Looking at the value drivers, again, this goes to exit planning, which is the misnomer. We take it from the future transferable value and shoring up the agencies. When we talked to you about it, there were several that really sparked you in terms of what you've worked on at Deland Gibson. And first and foremost, that's the influence of operating systems. So tell us about that journey, Chip.
And I'm going to even just jump right in from the start, because I hear what you're saying around the value drivers. And I have a forum of other insurance CEOs that we've been meeting for 12 straight years. And some of them have sold to private equity and other companies like that. And really about a year ago, the big message that I took from that meeting, as much as it can be tricks to do a workflow or whatever, my big thesis was don't wait for PE to run your company like PE. Because I've seen how there's different challenges that they're running into from a process standpoint, from being more corporate, but the numbers get better. And that really stuck out to me. So that is kind of exactly what you are doing in this series by highlighting what drives value in the company, because it works.
I remember that call, Chip, when you told us about that recap. Mm-hmm. And audience, when he says he meets with other agency owners, these are not small agency owners. Chip always looks bigger. Chip learns and keeps growing from the best in the industry. So when he makes a comment like that, really pay attention, because he knows he's getting insights that most of us don't have access to. And I remember we hung up from that call saying, oh, wow, never thought of it that way. Run it like.
Absolutely. It was. You can take the best parts of that message. You don't want to duplicate everything. I think as being a independent agency, we have a lot of advantages over the big PE firms. Sometimes we don't think so. We absolutely do. Mm-hmm. So I think the importance of what can we borrow from them, and then what can we improve upon, because we are smaller, we're more nimble, how can we utilize that to our advantage? So Chip, we'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah. Well, on that front, I can go in so many directions, and I'm sorry for completely interrupted within the first 3 minutes of this podcast.
We're quick starts. That's the fun part of this.
But not running. So the basis of not waiting for PE to run it like PE, we want to stay independent, and that is one of the core principles that we are driving towards. But what we've found is you can learn a lot and do a lot of great things. But it all gets back to make accountability and making the tough decisions. There's no secret sauce. It is writing down the goals. It's working within your operating system. It's following procedures and then actually following the procedures.
Yeah.
Like, it's easy to get in the trap of, we have these and we're doing a lot of good stuff. But even in management meetings, I'll get yelled at because I'll come up with an idea that would sound really good, like it's going to help. And then Kendra and Jessica will be like, well, how are we going to audit this? And that is the next level where my brain doesn't always go that far, to figure out how the team is actually going to be held accountable and how the team is going to execute on that and how we're going to continue to execute on that. When we were talking before this, preparing, one of the aspects that was interesting that has been popping up recently is a lot of old problems are popping up again. And it is not, and to a lot of people, they're new problems. To me, I'm like, no. These aren't new problems. We've solved these. We've just forgotten about the process and put it on a shelf, not been consistent enough and not enforced it enough. So that is where it's a lot of, at one point in time, we had it locked down. But then there's tribal knowledge of people that were here for a long time. Then they retire. Some might leave, and then then you hire new people, and the onboarding always isn't doing the exact same thing that maybe 20 years of experience taught us. Mm-hmm. So then it seems like it's a new problem, but it's just it's something we've already solved that needs to be held accountable, that needs to be audited, that needs to be tracked and communicated.
It's interesting, Chip. We did just talk about this prior to record. And now hearing you say it again, one word came to my mind. As you have grown and as you have done acquisitions, which DG has had many successful acquisitions, it gets diluted as you're bringing on all these new people. There's a dilution, if that's even a word, of those systems of processes that you put into place, and then the discipline starts to fail.
Yeah, and it's through a transition of an M&A or even hiring a new person, the onboarding is so critical. And it starts with the why. And it's like, why do we do this? Because a lot of people are, hey, I've been doing it this way for a really long time, and this is how it works. So we don't poo-poo them on that front. Like, Ted does a really good job. And when in the first meeting, he's like, hey, we don't think we know everything. So we want to learn how you do it. But ultimately, and maybe we take a piece of that and add it into our process going forward. But it's certainly under consideration and something that we're not too egotistical to think that we can't be better. But but ultimately, getting back to the why. Why do we do it? Explaining it so it's not just going apart through your day, but actually showing how you're going to make a difference for the entire entity. Connecting those dots is really hard, and you really need someone that's engaged, someone that wants it, and but ultimately you can get there. It just takes time to build that culture. It doesn't happen overnight. It's repeating it. Another thing we joke about in management meetings is how many times do we have to say something for everyone to get it? And that's different for different people. And so even from internal, we do every year, will do an assessment of ourselves and just get people's feedback. I think every year communication has been on that list, and how we've transformed that from 20 years ago to now is incredible. But we're still not perfect, and we're still going to keep looking ourselves in the mirror to figure out how to get better.
The evolution of DG. As you're speaking, that's the other word that there's so many that come to mind. It's evolution. You said accountability. It's discipline. It is all of it.
As you reflect what you were just sharing with us, I mean, some of the challenges that you may face or that your team faces today, do they all point back to ultimately fundamentals?
I think so.
Is there anything new that's new in 20 years that, or does it feel different to you, or are they fundamentally some of the same issues?
I think they're fundamentally some of the same issues. And one of an area that is so hot right now is AI.
We hear it every day.
And to be good at AI is all about fundamentals. Mm-hmm. It's nothing different than 20 years ago when you're working on workflows, getting stuff like, hey, I got this brand new system, whether it's Applied Epic, AMS 360, whatever your flavor is, it's workflows, getting data in the system, writing the right client name, nickname, address, all of those things is the fundamentals of even what's now going to make reporting, and the data to have AI work within your systems. So that's what was another analogy that I saw, and I was like, it's change management. It's building the culture of doing the right thing time after time, because you can hire someone to come in and clean your house, but if you don't keep it clean, it's not going to stay clean in the same as with your data. So unless you have the right culture to keep things tidy, you're never going to achieve that. So it's all about the humans and working together on that and having them understand the why we do it. Because if they don't understand the why, they're not going to do it. If they do, you have a much better chance.
Absolutely.
One of the things that has fascinated, I'll speak personally over the last couple of years, is we look at really agencies that have been very successful. And then all of a sudden, that success just kind of goes away.
This has been a year of that.
And as I look into their agencies, the thing that's always been in common is the fundamentals have kind of changed. They've kind of taken their eye off the fundamentals. And that to me now has become a major red flag. There's never a point within the agency where you've gotten so big and so much revenue that, hey, we don't have to do the fundamentals anymore.
I was thinking,
what do you think?
I was going to say that before he answers, I was going to jump in and say that has been, and we talked about this on our calls with you, is this what we're seeing with what you and Ted are doing with the team? As big as you've gotten through the acquisitions, through the development of these operating systems, you have documented and proven growth, you have your acquisition strategies, you're nailing these value drivers, but yet you never take your eye off those fundamentals, no matter what happens in your world.
And I can relate to that because I feel the fundamentals are uber important. Like you can be watching the Super Bowl and the coach will be interviewed at the halftime. They'll be like, we just got to block and tackle, or whatever that analogy is. It is about the basics. I would say what's been a challenge of the industry has been talent. Yeah. And when I first got in the industry, there was so much experience. And I walked into Deland Gibson and people, we probably averaged 15 years experience. And you fast forward now, that is way different. And so it's easy to take for granted that experience, mm-hmm. because then when you scale with a lot of inexperience, it spreads you so thin in terms of even the tribal knowledge you talked about, the workflows,
it dilutes you,
processes. So you have to You have to switch how you operate to a degree. We have new roles that I never would have thought we would have. Training and brand coordinator. So when we hire someone, there is someone that shows them all the stuff that we have. We would have stuff sitting on a shelf and people would be like, oh, we should get something like that. Like, we already pay for it. And so, that's an area that, but if you're there 15 years, you're going to know it. But if you're there 15 months, you probably aren't going to know it. And to have someone have a go-to person that can hold your hand through onboarding you, being an outlet to understand how we work, those are roles that I wouldn't have imagined we would have, but very important.
Yeah, I think that brings up an interesting concept. You think about valuation all the time. It's always financial valuation. Give me an income statement and a balance sheet, and we'll figure out a valuation. And yet, we never. How often do we think about the longevity, the experience level,
well, and that's why we're undertaking. That's why I became a CEXP, certified exit planner. Don, Kayla, Shauna are either at advanced level or on the path. And that's why we're focusing on these value drivers. It's what we've seen Chip and Ted actually do in their agency. Absolutely. But it goes beyond the numbers on
Absolutely.
the sheet.
It's that knowledge and experience within your team. And we see agencies that have high team churn, and that's another red flag, because as you said, there's a value to that longevity, that experience, that knowledge base.
Yeah, I think and going back to value drivers, the value of the industry has changed a lot over the past 18 months. And the focus now is it's so focused on integration, where before you could have agents that were operating like 300 different agents and they were valued the same. Now, if you are 300 different agents calling yourself one agent, your value isn't the same as someone that's fully integrated and working together. Mm-hmm. And that's, on a very, very small scale, that's what we look at when we're looking at M&A. Even this week, I was looking at one, and the thing that scared me the most was the integration risk. Mm-hmm. It was multiple offices. It was, and I just don't, you often can't get a handle for the culture. And I was like, so much could go wrong. Let's say there's attrition, like big changes cause attrition. And if the risk of people, the risk of having to hire a lot of people that would then be learning to process, like their processes as they get onboarded, and then Deland Gibson's processes once we integrate, it's scary. And that's something that organic growth and doing it from the ground up is often, I think, a much easier way to stay consistent.
That is fair, because especially you may be looking at an agency that is on your AMS system, but they treat it entirely different. Now you've got to take their habits that they've formed and transfer them to the DG way, the Deland Gibson way, right? I mean, it goes from the simplest level of an agency management system or taking payments or whatever, rolling up to how renewal calls are done. It is every operating system. It is all of that is a part of actually your acquisition strategy.
I think one of the fascinations, from a business perspective, and this is outside of insurance agencies, any general business, is for almost everybody, the challenge is, how do you scale up? Mm-hmm. Are you have a challenge to scale?
100%. Scaling is probably one of the biggest challenges Ted and I have faced since having the success we've had. It's sometimes easy to figure out what you need in the future, but then sequencing it, hiring at the right time, onboarding is so hard. It's hard from a cultural standpoint, as well as, hey, what can we afford right now? We've got these new bills that we have to pay in terms of the bank, and we know we need to hire them eventually. But then you can see people that used to do like a number of things, and you have to whittle down to there to less, and that can be hard on the ego to be like, hey, we talk about we need to delegate and elevate to move up. So that can be a challenge, as well as some people, all of our brains work differently, and the vision of some people isn't there. So it's like people think they need to do stuff and they're used to doing it at one level, and then once you double in size, it's a different ball game. And some people just are better at certain things. We're constantly, the cliches, right people, right seats, but it's so true. And getting people to stay where they're great is super important. And some people will surprise you with the way they think about things and what they can bring to the table. And that's really exciting when stuff like that happens and people step up to the plate.
So this is interesting to kind of put the bow on it and tie it back to one of your earlier comments. Everyone's talking about AI. We hear it almost incessantly through the day. And sure, we're looking at it. You have to. How can it be? But what I'm capturing, and is what we've said, we did a whole podcast on human intelligence instead of artificial intelligence. Am I hearing you say the key to scalability is going to be the humans you have at DG?
100%. Like we're starting from a place that has Deland Gibson cannot run without humans ever. Mm-hmm. And I think if you're a small startup in a different field, like if you start with just AI, it's maybe a native AI company is going to be easier to grow and do that without people, but that's not where we are. We've got, 20,000 clients or something like that. And that is, there's a lot of data. There's a lot of way more relationships. And that is what we have to scale at and be careful to do it the right way. I would say, I also don't like everyone calling it AI because it's just a new technology. It's not, it's a new tool. And getting back to fundamentals, blocking and tackling, to get this right, you're still executing the same way you've done almost every other project. Exactly. Putting together what we do, a project charter, figuring out the steps that's going to take to do it, and it's executing on it. It's holding the progress accountable and repeating that. And if you can do that, you will be successful in the latest tool. But if you don't,
that is so profound on so many levels and so refreshing because again, it's almost blinding how we've seen agency owners just, I spent all these hours programming this or doing that. And it's like, how many hours did you spend on your relationships? How many hours did you spend mentoring your team? It's a balance of all of it. And just as a side note, I saw an article this morning, maybe on the Wall Street Journal. There's a large corporation hiring back 400 or 500 employees because their AI initiatives failed. They laid them off and now they need them back. We're not there yet.
No.
I think fairly universally, when we talk about scaling being all of our challenges, oftentimes for all of us, it seems pretty on pen and paper in theory, okay, we do this, we do this, we do this. And what we're hearing from you is what we all know is in the real world, all those little details now then surface, and it's never nearly as easy as it looks in theory.
Yeah, and I'd say a lot of these larger AI companies are really good at marketing. And so they portray things, they portray the final product, and it's amazing, and it is. Yeah. But the steps it takes to get there is a whole different ballgame. And so I would say that's even hard internally at Deland Gibson because we're talking about how we are researching, we want to be utilizing the latest technology, et cetera. And then a lot of the people, we have curious people, which is great. And they're like, well, what about this? And these are all vendors and tools. It's not how it's built into the workflow, the security, how it's sequenced is so much more important. I fell victim to this. My team will laugh when they listen to this podcast because I've been pushing them with solutions, not pushing them with a process. And they've been like, we've been telling you this. I'm just a little more slow of a learner than some people on my team. So I'm finally catching up, but we'll get there. And then, so we have had to do things just with quick wins internally to show the team like, hey, we do have this stuff. We're going to continue to grow this stuff, but there's a process behind the scenes that's going to take a little longer to do it the right way.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Scalability, fundamentals. It's your biggest challenge, but isn't that the nature of scalability in general? Isn't it always going to be hard? And it's pretty much, sorry, everyone, it's never ending until you actually do transfer the business. You're scaling either for size, market conditions, technology, team.
And you're scaling yourself.
Yeah.
Like you're scaling your abilities, because what I've found too is I haven't been great where I think a certain person's needed for a role and I've been wrong. And so that's humbling. And that is where you stub your toe a few times, but you do learn, and it's hard, but it's part of the
journey.
Part of the journey.
And Chip, that's a good segue because our journey has been so integrated with yours. I'm so grateful.
Absolutely. It's absolutely been a great pleasure. And, it's been a great history
from
between
when we
us.
Walked in 8 years ago.
Absolutely.
It's crazy, isn't it? So thank you, as always. You're going to be back on this podcast. You're going to be one of our favorite conversations because we know what you've done. We know your dedication, and we know just how much you roll up your sleeves and your humility in it all. You really are. You don't have to be humble for what you've achieved, and yet you are. So I am very grateful.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. It's been enlightening. And I think that hopefully anybody listening to this is that we're all in this together. Mm-hmm. And you're never going to grow out of certain things, but that is the journey.
That is the journey. So thank you, Chip. Thank you, everyone who's listened on your favorite podcast platform. Please reach out to us. Reach out to Chip. Check out DelandGibson.com, or they're on social media. Really, really great agency to learn from. And as always, I am grateful.
Grateful. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Chip. And be well, everyone.
Be well.